people, happy Thursday afternoon to you. Thank you for joining us, Peach Guitars Live. We normally do this on a Friday, but as I'm sure most of you in the UK are aware, tomorrow is bank holiday in the UK, so we're not actually going to be functioning tomorrow. So I wanted to bring it forward to today instead. I hope you're all doing well. I hope you're all having a good week. We've got Luke over there behind the camera. Say hello, Luke.
Hello, everyone.
Luke says hello. Hello from me as well. So what we're going to do today is we're going to start to kind of implement into this live series something that we've kind of touched on in feature videos before, and it's something that people ask for all the time. So we are taking on board your comments and your requests for video series that you want to see. So I'd say kind of as the course of this video goes on, please feel free to chime in on the live chat with not only what you think of these guitars and what I'm talking about. If you've got any questions about them, please put them in the live chat, but also we're always looking for ideas from you guys as to what you want to see for other videos. Speaking of which, that's what this theme is today. So what I'm going to do today is compare 7 HSS style guitars. What on earth does that mean? HSS basically means, it refers to the pickup configuration. I get questions about this, or we all get questions about this in the shop. What kind of pickup configuration should I be looking for, and what does the technical kind of jargon relate to? So HSS, and we talk about it a lot, it's a throwaway term. All it means is that the guitar is equipped with a humbucker pickup and 2 single coils, so HSS. So the reason I talk about it so much, and the reason I think that most people want to see these guitars so often, is because for a lot of people, this is kind of the be-all and end-all. You can really cover so much sonic ground with an HSS style guitar. It's usually coupled with an S-style body. So in the running today, I've got guitars not only from Fender, but I've also got some other boutique brands that all kind of take influence from that original design of hot rodding a Strat-style guitar, putting a humbucker in the bridge, and they've all got their own spin and their own kind of unique character. So we have done a feature video on this already a year or so ago, but it was kind of time for a 2020 update and a refresh. There's a couple of new models from some new brands that we've taken on in the store in the meantime. And some of the guitars that we did feature before anyway have had spec improvements over time. Certain things have changed on them, so I thought it would be a good idea just to have a recap with this kind of subject, and this is going to hopefully kickstart a lineup of other videos where we'll compare similar kind of guitars that are similar on paper, if you see what I mean. So other single cut guitar shootouts, and these aren't really shootouts. This is just going to be, I want to show you what the strengths of each of these different brands have to offer. There's no one particular guitar that is better than any other. It's only better for you and your purposes. So that's what I want to get across in this video today, and hopefully you'll gain some information from this that you might not have had before, and you'll be able to easily pick a favourite for yourself. So that's the theme of the video. As is always the case with these live videos, I'm going to play a guitar for a little bit, talk about it, and then I'm going to answer your questions that are coming in on the live chat. So do make sure that you ask away if you want to know something. The rest of the rig is pretty exciting today. We've just received, I'm going to talk about this later on in the video as well, this morning we received the very first shipment of Soldano amplifiers in the UK, in fact. So these are the only amps at present that are on these shores. We've got the SLO 100, which is an absolute beast of an amplifier. We in the shop, and I'm sure loads of you watching, have been waiting for this to come in, and I thought this is a great chance to use it in this video. It's a very versatile amp to showcase some very versatile guitars. We've actually been filming a feature video that will be coming out very soon on this amplifier today. So that's what the amp is. On the floor I've got a few pedals as always. I'm mixing it up a little bit. I've actually got a wah pedal for the first time I think ever in a Peach video. I've got a Jerry Cantrell Dunlop wah. I've got the Ryra 808 Tube Screamer for a little bit of a clean boost. And then I've got the HSS, which is doing a few various effects that I'm going to talk you through as I use them. All the tones coming from the amazing Soldano amp. So let's just get stuck in. I started the video with this guitar, which is an Xotic XSC2, and we talk about Xotic a lot, but I almost kind of don't need to, because I think everyone watching this, I've already seen a few of the comments, people are just saying, well, this guitar's going to win. I think most people will know what Xotic are kind of about. They're basically a Californian custom shop brand that started a few years ago. We're very lucky to be the UK exclusive dealer for Xotic guitars. and they just make some of the very best kind of vintage inspired S and T style guitars. They've more recently pushed into a custom shop direction with the Xotic line, so now they're opening themselves up to taking custom orders and getting other specs on their guitars. This is just a standard California Classic model. This is an XSC2, which basically means that it's got the HSS pickup configuration in this guitar, as opposed to an XSC1, which has 3 single coils. So as far as we're all concerned here at the shop, these are, and have been for some time, some of the most versatile guitars that you'll find, and hopefully what I was playing at the start will kind of serve to exemplify that. I'm going to play a little bit more on it, and I'll show you some of the tones that I've got going from the amp, and I'm going to use this guitar as kind of the benchmark, if you like, as to what an HSS guitar I think should be about. Hello, Rosie. Right, so I'm going to start with the normal channel on the amp, which I've set up in the crunch mode, and I've got the bright switch on. It's overdriving a little bit, and I'm going to use some effects. I've got a red squeeze model compressor in the line 6, which is going to just add a little bit of kind of compression to the tone when I use this. I want you to pay attention to how dynamic these guitars are. A lot of them have lower output pickups, so you can have somewhat of a gain tone going on with the humbucker, and then you can switch to the single coils and get a clean sound. So I'm going to show you that, and then I'm going to kick into some overdrive with the Super Lead Overdrive high gain channel on the amp. So here's some clean. I'm going to go from there. Okay, you get the idea. This guitar is very versatile. As I said, these got quite low output pickups in here as well. These are Xotic's raw vintage pickups, and it's a raw vintage PAF style humbucker. They just marry up really well with each other, and when you're going from clean to high gain sounds, it's all just really uniform. It sounds like it's not a modified hot rodded guitar, which I think is kind of the goal that you want to achieve with this kind of instrument. You don't want it to sound like you've just taken a Strat style guitar and shoved a humbucker in there randomly. It all has to work together as a smooth system. So just before I move on to another guitar, I just want to show you how this pickup set works really well. So I'm just going to play on the cleaner channel. I'm just going to show you each position and show you how they naturally progress into one another. Right, so as I was saying, really nice natural progression from the neck pickup down to the bridge, and that's what you want. So that's kind of the benchmark, I think. These Xotic XSC series guitars are the benchmark of an HSS style guitar for a lot of people. And one final word on them, what Xotic do best is they straddle the line between vintage style, the vintage sound that most people want out of this kind of style of guitar, and then they've got the modern playability features. So this guitar obviously sounds very classic. It's got those raw vintage pickups in there which sound authentically Stratty. It's got a nitro finish. Some really cool relic jobs are available on these guitars aesthetically as well. But then you've got some nice modern touches like the roasted maple neck. You've got Xotic locking tuners as well, which are vintage style locking tuners. So they look like vintage tuners, but they are locking. And they've got really good tremolo bridge systems as well that stay in tune very well. So it's kind of the perfect blend of all things. Okay, so that's what I wanted to start with this guitar, and show you, what I'm trying to get across here about HSS style instruments. The other component in the rig that I forgot to talk about first is I'm using the effects loop on the Soldano. And when I come on to talk a little bit more about the Soldano later on, I'll explain why I'm using a pedal as opposed to just the HX effects in the effects loop. There was a lot of single letters there, but I'm using a Seymour Duncan Vapor Trail analog delay in the loop. It sounds great, and I'm just turning it on and off with the Soldano foot switch, in case you're wondering what was going on. So let me just make sure before I move on to this guitar I haven't missed any questions. I see there's been quite a lot of comments already. Thank you everyone for tuning in. As always, I appreciate it. Play Stairway to Heaven? No. Is there a particular single coil size humbucker you would recommend if you don't want to go for an HSS tone? That's a tricky one because a lot of those stacked single coil pickups, I'm not going to go off on a huge tangent here, but I just want to answer your question, Sean. I mean, guys like DiMarzio have been making, I think, amazing sounding Strat size single coil, but stacked coil pickups. I think DiMarzio probably still make the best sounding pickups in terms of what's noiseless, if that's what you want. And they do make they've still got that nice single coil tonality, which I think is kind of a bonus. You can get other pickups. I know Duncan makes pickups. I'm sure loads of other pickup brands that make single coil size pickups will make a humbucker in a single coil format. But to my experience, DiMarzio makes some of the best stuff. But that's just my own opinion. There's loads of other options on the market. I'm sure there's loads on the Peach Guitars website. So head over there and you'll find an option that will work for you. Any other questions? Let me just check. I think once again, my colleagues are dutifully answering a lot of them. Neck shape on the Xotic. I'm pretty sure it's like it's a D kind of a profile. I think I do have the spec list here. So modern C. I was only a letter away. Modern C neck profile on the Xotic. I do have some specs here, which I'm just going to get up so I make sure I can thoroughly answer questions like that. Let me just get this going. Okay. Yeah, a fairly standard spec on the Xotic. It's got a 9.5 inch fingerboard radius as well. Jescar 55090 frets, which is to say kind of medium jumbo, I think. Just a nice across the board, well balanced spec on that guitar. So hopefully that's covered most of the questions. I'll come back to answering questions after I've played this guitar. Okay. So this next one is quite similar in a number of ways to the Xotic, and that's why I wanted to play it next. This is from Schecter's USA Custom Shop. I'm sure a lot of people have the same perception that I initially did when I first heard about Schecter guitars, is that they're well known for their kind of more pointy shaped, EMG loaded, that kind of thing, metal guitars. They make amazing stuff, actually. They've got a huge variety of different body sizes and shapes and styles of guitar. But Schecter's Custom Shop is an entirely different kettle of fish. They make amazing guitars in the USA, including stuff like this, which is their traditional 2 Wembley model. So a perfect option for this HSS shootout. When we did our HSS feature before, a lot of people actually favoured the Schecter in that video because it's got a really nice kind of woody, warm tone. It's a very lightweight guitar as well. And then you've got a few of the other modern quirks on it, like the roasted maple neck, the locking tuners, a 2-post tremolo bridge system. But as the Xotic does, it marries all that up with sounding really nice and vintage as well. So I'm going to show you what this sounds like. There's also a coil split on the tone pot here. It's a global tone as well, which I think is pretty cool, just to have 1 volume and 1 tone. And you've got a coil split for the humbucking pickup. So let me show you some tones. I'm going to do the same thing, run through from clean to some more overdriven tones. So just before I move on to a higher gain sound with this guitar, hopefully what you'll notice is how much depth this instrument has. And I don't know how they do it. It's a nice lightweight body, so I guess that's got something to do with it. But it almost kind of sounds like this guitar's tuned down to E flat in a way, and that's something that I think is a good quality in this style of instrument. It's something that people remark on sometimes, is that sometimes a guitar just has these extended low register frequencies and it sounds like you're tuned lower than you actually are. This guitar isn't standard. Let me move to the gain sound, and you can hear how much heft this has got. And also the balance, once again, of the 3 different pickups I think is great. So let me show you the gain tone now. It just sounds absolutely massive, this guitar. I really love it. It's really dynamic, and it's got a different kind of sweetness on the cleaner tones as well than the Xotic did. Let me just have a bit of coffee, first of all.
Cold by now.
It's not too bad, you know. Just bear with me, people. What? Okay. That had to be done, I'm afraid. So, yeah, Schecter's just a really good alternative to that Xotic. And spec-wise, let me just double-check what I've got here on the list. Same kind of standard wood combination, older body, roasted neck, roasted maple neck. This is actually a roasted flame maple, according to the spec. This has got Schecter's custom shop VS1 single coil pickups and a Pasadena Classic PAF bridge humbucker. So same kind of deal, but as you can tell, just from the tones of those two guitars, on paper these guitars are very similar, but in practice they're very, very different, and that's kind of testament to the build quality of each guitar. You know, they've got different kind of ideals that they want to recreate with these instruments. So that alone should kind of show you just how varied this field is. You know, you can't just stick a humbucker on an S-style guitar and have it come out the same as another guitar, if you see what I mean. So I think these two compare very closely, and they're probably the best matched of all the guitars that I'm going to show you today. But they're still very different. A question about the neck from Adam. The neck it's very smooth, actually. It's probably a little bit smoother than the Xotic, and that might just be because I've warmed up a bit more, I don't know, but it just feels a little bit smoother. The fret edges are amazing on all these guitars. They're super, super smooth. The roasted maple on the neck means it's very stable, so it doesn't dry out and shrink as some other guitars would do. They're very closely spec'd, but I think the crucial difference is in the tone, so hopefully you'll have heard that in the video. That's what I wanted to put across. Okay. So this is what most people will be thinking of when they think of an HSS Strat. In fact, this kind of instrument angers some people because they think, why would you mess with that tried and true 3 single coil classic Strat design? It works very, very well. It's worked very well for decades. Why change it? That is true in some cases, but what Fender have actually done is they haven't, as I said before, they haven't just there's a lorry moving outside in case you can hear that rumbling sound. They haven't just stuck a humbucker on a regular Strat. This model is a 61, I believe, 61 custom shop HSS Strat. It's an amazing surf green or seafoam green. I can never remember which one is which. Surf green, thank you. With a Seymour Duncan humbucker in there, but they've kind of married up various other properties of the guitar to make it more fitting to this style of instrument. I'm going to show you what I mean when I play it, so let me just give it a quick tune up. This is definitely going to be the guitar, you know, if you're a kind of stickler for, you want authentic Fender tone on the neck and middle pickups, and you know, I can see why you would. The Xotic and the Schecter kind of level things out a little bit, smooth it out. They still sound amazing, but you get more of a stratty quality out of this guitar. But then the humbucker, as I said, marries up very well. It's quite a dark sounding pickup in this guitar, I think. Let me just check exactly what it is. It's a Seymour Duncan JB, which, for anyone who doesn't know, that was always the go-to pickup for hot rodding Strats in the 80s. Probably even a little bit before that. The JB is kind of the sound of hard rock throughout the course of that decade. It's going to marry up very nicely with the Soldar, I know that, but I'm going to show you some clean tones first of all, particularly on the neck and the middle, and you'll hear just how this sounds like a great Strat. There you go. So I think this guitar is probably the most, it's the most obvious that there's two different characters living within it. The Xotic and the Schecter are maybe a little bit more seamless in the way that they interact with that humbucker because they're lower output pickups. But having a slightly hotter humbucker here, the JB, it's a very distinct different character when you go to that pickup as opposed to the real Fendery sound in the neck and the middle. So if you've got your amp set up in a fairly, if you EQ it for either one of those sounds, it's going to be more of a drastic change when you go to the other pickup. That works well for some things, like I just showed you there, going straight from a really thick humbucker high gain tone to just switching to the neck pickup on the cleaner channel. There's more headroom, there's more dynamic range probably in this guitar. So it's another great option, really, and obviously it is a Fender, so that's kind of the be-all and end-all for some people, which I do understand. It sounds fantastic, and you'll also have heard kind of the in-between gain sound, which was the normal channel on the crunch mode on the Soldano, but with the 808 just boosting it slightly, and it sounds, like all those authentic Stratty mid-gain tones that are so highly revered because, of course, it is a Strat. So there's no imitation here. That's what's great about this guitar. Now I'm going to show you another Fender, and the reason I've got two will become apparent hopefully when I'm playing this guitar. Let me just have a bit more coffee. Okay. So the reason I've got two HSS Strats is that they represent the two opposite ends of the scale with Fender. So we talk loads about custom shop guitars on this channel because they are definitely one of the most popular products and fields of products that we sell. Loads of people love the classic 50s, 60s and 70s spec Fender guitars from the custom shop, which are amazing, as you'll have just heard. But there's also cause to look at what Fender are pioneering into the 21st century, and that's where guitars like this come in. This isn't a custom shop guitar, this is part of the USA line. This is the Ultra series of guitars. So this guitar is a refinement, an update to the American Deluxe series that came out a few years ago. And what Fender did with this is they kind of just addressed all of those things I was talking about before, where players were looking to upgrade the guitars in various ways. They wanted a slimmer neck profile, they wanted larger frets, they wanted locking tuners, they wanted a different bridge system on this guitar that would maybe stay in tune a bit better. They wanted noiseless pickups, they wanted S1 switching, which gives you alternative sounds to the standard 5-way switch. They wanted maybe some extra kind of modifications to the body, like slightly lighter weight. You've also got the enhanced extended heel cutaway here to get access to the high frets. If you want to do a zoomaroonie on that. So you get the idea. This is a real, tweaked to the nines kind of a guitar. It's also strung up with 9 to 42, I believe, from the factory. So that alone is going to have a different tonal impact. And I've purposely chosen a maple neck guitar to emphasize the differences even more. So have a freeze frame in your mind of that last Strat I just showed you. The Ultra is going to sound very different, and this is from the same brand. So let me show you what an Ultra sounds like. Okay, that was interesting, hopefully, because despite being the most inexpensive guitar, as somebody pointed out in the comments, this holds up very, very well with the other guitars I've just shown you, and it's got its own character. It's definitely a lot more sort of modern sounding, I guess, is the only way to really put it. It's a lot cleaner sounding, a bit tighter sounding as well. Might not have quite as much depth to the tone as those other guitars did, but what it makes up for, it makes up for that in the fact that it's got so much more flexibility. I pointed out midway through that I used the S1 switch, which gives you a few different pickup switching options on this guitar. You've also got the noiseless pickups, which obviously marry up well with the humbucker, which is naturally noise cancelling. So even though I had disgusting amounts of gain on there with the overdrive channel on the amp, the 808 tube screamer pedal, and put the wah on as well, you're able to get really nice high gain feedbacky sounds, but without any hum. And I had that high gain sound, just turned the volume down, went to the neck pickup, and it was just a nice crunchy clean kind of sound. So there's some really nice kind of dynamics to this guitar. It's very different to the other instruments, but this just shows once again how kind of broad this topic is. An HSS guitar can mean so many different kind of things, so it's got so many different permutations. It just depends what you're looking for. So I really like all of them. I'm sure most people watching this will think that there is cause to own several of these guitars, and there definitely is, because they've all got something interesting. Michael MC asked about the tremolo on this guitar. Yeah, it's a 2-point trem. The block, I don't think it's an oversized block. I don't think Fender really do that too much. It's just a great sounding tremolo. It stays in tune very well. You'll have heard I was quite abusive to it towards the end there. Just works really well. Fret-wise, because I know some people are asking about the frets. Let me check it. Pardon?
Huge discussion about frets.
Okay, well, I'm not going to wade into this. All the spec says is medium jumbo frets and rolled edges, okay? I'm pretty sure they're just nickel frets. I get the argument for stainless steel, and I'm going to talk about that obviously when I come onto the Suhr guitar, which has stainless steel frets. I do kind of think that the stainless steel takes away a little bit of the character of the strattiness, if you like. So this guitar sounds particularly stratty, as the other Fender guitar did. And what I mean by that is it's got that dynamic range. And I think that when you start to incorporate different materials, if you had different bodywood, for example, and stainless steel frets, although they're more durable, they do impact the tone and they make it brighter. And I don't think you really need to do that on a Fender Strat, if you see what I mean. So that's just my own opinion. A couple of the other specs on this guitar, you've got hand-wound Texas Special. Oh, sorry, I'm looking at the wrong spec. Oops. Where's the other Fender? Sorry, yeah, they're not Texas Special, they're noiseless pickups, and it's the Ultra double tap bridge humbucker. And as I said, the S1 switching gives you a couple of different options as well. Modern D profile on the neck, so again, different neck profile to the custom shop guitar. And it's an ash body, in fact, on this, so it's a little bit lighter weight. Fender have actually stopped making ash guitars now, I believe, so there you go. What more can I say? If you want an ash bodied guitar, this is a great option for that. Okay, so I talked about Fender in abundance. This is something this is a really cool guitar. I want to talk a little bit about this. I have actually had this in a live video before when someone was asking about it on the Knaggs and PRS video we did. Okay, so what this is Joe Knaggs. I'm sure you know, we covered it in previous live videos. Amazing guitar builder, and he's probably better known for his single cut set neck style guitars. You'll see loads on the wall behind me. His Kenai model. He's got various signature models with guys like Steve Stevens, Doug Rappaport and Eric Steckel, who actually, lucky boy, has two different signatures. He's got the Kenai, which you can see there's a green one there at the front, Steckel signature, and he's got this, which is the 7 model. So there's a couple of significant changes to this one over a regular 7. I think it's a slightly thicker body, and there's also a different wood combination used on this guitar, I believe. So let me just get the spec here so I know what I'm talking about. Okay, so this guitar is a Chesapeake 7X, Tier 3 with the Steckel spec. So that Steckel spec I was talking about means that as opposed to a regular sort of older or ash body that I've shown you so far, you've got mahogany body with this amazing figured maple top. And it is a set neck as well. It's a mahogany neck, ebony fingerboards. So straight away, a number of significant changes there compared to the other HSS style guitar. So it's still an S style guitar in its most basic form. It's still got the same volume and 2 tones that you would find on most S style guitars. It's got the same kind of tremolo system, although this is Knaggs' proprietary Chesapeake bridge system, which just works amazingly well. So having all those different changes mean that this guitar reacts very differently to the other guitars. So let me show you some clean tones. You've also got a push-pull on the tone, which I think most Knaggs 7 guitars have this. It just gives you, similar to the S1 switch on the Ultra, a bunch of different voicing options on the pickup switch. But I'm not going to use that because that's kind of unfair to the rest of the guitars in the comparison. So let me show you what this Knaggs sounds like. The pickups, by the way, are Seymour Duncan 80XK single coils, which were custom made for Knaggs guitars, and a JB Seymour Duncan bridge pickup as well. Let's see how it compares. wicked guitar. I saw a Toto-esque comment that came up there, and that's put me in a certain mind frame. It is a little bit Lukather in certain ways as well. It's kind of similar aesthetic, I suppose, and tone to his Valley Arts guitars. Anyway, I don't want to go off on a Lukather tangent because I'll talk a lot. But really versatile guitar, you know, and having this difference in the wood combination is totally different to everything else I'm showing you today. Having the addition of that extra switch as well to give you some different sounds is really cool. So even though on paper it's kind of a similar setup to the Fender with the JB in the bridge, totally different sounding guitar, and that's down to the wood combination. It's certainly a unique aesthetic as well. Joe Knaggs has really just taken this idea and ran very, very far with it. You know, even down to differences in the design of the headstock. He's using totally different combinations of electronics and woods and all this sort of stuff. So this is an HSS guitar, but totally different. So hopefully that just proves once again how flexible this array of this style of instrument can be. So I love that guitar. I hope a lot of you do as well. Okay, so this one is the oddball guitar. I don't mean that in a negative way. I mean that in the sense that Mayones is a brand new manufacturer that we've taken on. Well, not quite brand new, but it's certainly the newest of the bunch here in terms of brands that we've taken on. Amazing guitar builders, and they're probably best known for their kind of guitars like the Regius and the Duvel. I've talked a lot about Mayones guitars recently because they're just such incredible instruments, and I want to kind of put across to you guys that watch about, you know, they're just something that's very different. So this year, they've decided to turn their efforts to making guitars like this is the Aquila model. And I'm really annoyed at myself that I still haven't learned the correct pronunciation of that. It's Aquila. Aquila, whatever it is. It's a wicked guitar. And it's got a lot of the Mayones sensibilities in it. So it's got amazing top. It's got really unique wood combinations on this guitar, which I'm just going to refer to my spec list so I don't mess it up. Swampesh body with a quadruple A grade quilted maple top. It's a Wenge neck, which isn't something we see very often. The only other guitar that I can think of that has this same kind of similar configuration is the Nick Johnston Schecter version of the custom shop sort of Wembley model I showed you earlier, which has a Wenge neck. And it does something unique to the sound. You've also got, where are we? We've also got ebony fingerboard on this guitar, which adds a little bit of brightness. So again, something different that we haven't seen yet. 12-inch fingerboard radius, which is a little bit more suitable, I think, for a wider array of players than mine is regular. I think it's a 16-inch or even a 20-inch. Something quite extreme, flat on most Mayones guitars. This has got a 12-inch radius. Lola pickups in this guitar, blackface single coil pickups, and then an Imperial low bridge humbucker. So it's kind of counterintuitive to most people. When they think of Mayones guitars, you're thinking of those guitars I mentioned earlier. This is actually a lot more versatile, it's a lot more stripped back, and Mayones have used all that experience they've garnered through making those instruments and put it into HSS style kind of instruments. So let me show you how it sounds. I really think that this guitar is certainly the most unique sounding one here. So let me show you. So hopefully that will give way to the idea that these guitars are so versatile, and that was the point I made at the start of this video. Any kind of HSS loaded guitar, you can literally take it from screaming gain to pretty clean just by if it's made well, if it's a good HSS guitar. And that's exactly what this does. So I just had the massive gain sound there, just went to a single coil pickup after it, turned the volume down, and it's nice and clean. So this guitar's got a very unique tone. As I said, it's very bright and quite crisp sounding, even acoustically. It's got loads of high-end content, but it's also got that trademark Mayones tightness to it. So when I went to the higher gain sound, using the 808 as a boost as well, it's just so articulate, and that is in no small part thanks to the Soldano as well. I really like this guitar, and it's the only guitar here as well, might I point out, that has 24 frets. So if it's a utility thing you're looking for as well, this is something that really excels. So I think more people should be aware of Mayones guitars. Hopefully this will prove that they're not just a one-trick pony company either. They make guitars for every occasion, and they do it in their own way. So that's why I really like that. I'm going to end with something that is no stranger to most people, I'm sure. Yes, I'm going to talk about Suhr again. I love Suhr guitars. We all love Suhr guitars. They make absolutely impeccable instruments and have done for decades. And what they've done more recently is introduce series like this, the Classic series. So not only do they make guitars like the Modern series and the Standard series, which are a little bit more contemporary anyway, but what they do is they apply their knowledge in those kind of fields to more classic instrument designs. This particular Classic I'm showing you is part of the Peach limited run. So this is a dealer select Peach spec guitar. Differs in a couple of crucial ways that I've talked about a load of times in previous videos, but I'll just go over it once again. It's pretty standard form. It's an alderwood body. It's roasted maple neck on these guitars as opposed to the standard maple neck, which you can see. You can get them either with maple fingerboards or rosewood fingerboards. The other main difference to the Peach version of these instruments are the pickup selection. So this guitar's got ML single coil pickups and Thornbucker Plus in the bridge. So this whole guitar just sounds a little bit meaner than a regular Classic, or indeed any of the other kind of more traditional S-style guitars I've shown you in this video. I think this sounds, it's got a lot more of a strong mid-range. Now personally, I really like this sound because if you're looking for a Strat sound, then there will be some other options like some of the first guitars I showed you that are a little bit more authentic to that open stratiness. Having the ML pickups though turns this into something slightly different, and one of my main gigging guitars is a Suhr Classic Pro with ML pickups and a humbucker in the bridge, and it's just got a unique kind of tone, and it's really well rounded. So I'm going to show you some clean tones, I'm going to show you some gain tones. Before I do, we've talked a lot about, well, I see in the comments a lot of people are talking about the Soldano. As I said at the start of this video, we've just received the first shipment in the UK of Soldano SLO 100 amplifiers. These have been revised for 2020 with a couple of crucial differences. It's got an updated effects loop, which is now tube buffered and totally transparent. It's got a depth control, which formerly was a custom mod. It's just an incredible sounding amp. I've been playing this amp all day because we filmed a feature on it earlier on today, which you're going to be seeing soon. Every guitar I've put into it, especially guitars of this nature, just work superbly. So all the way from the clean tones to the high gain tones, it's all coming from that beast of an amp. I've got a delay pedal in the loop. I've got some effects on the floor in the front of the amp, which I talked about earlier. I've got a Ryra 808 as a booster, and the Line 6 HX effects, which actually isn't really doing much at all throughout the course of this video. So I just wanted to go over that stuff, talk about the Soldano a little bit. It's absolutely amazing, and it's great to play through a 412 as well. Let me show you what the Suhr sounds like. Disgusting sounds to end there with this Suhr. So what you get with the Suhr, just to round things off, is, in my opinion, it's kind of one of the best of all worlds of all these guitars. It's got a lot of the vintage sensibilities that those first guitars I showed you have. It's got some more of the contemporary tones as well. These ML pickups just sound amazing. They're so fat that when you're using a gain sound, you never really feel the need to reach for the tone control like you would do on certain Strat style guitars. This is just, it's still open, but they're way more rounded and balanced, I think, and then it marries up nicely with the Thornbucker in the bridge as well. Just some of the best specs that you can find on an HSS guitar. But that's not to say, as I said at the start of this video, that any of these are better than any of the others. Hopefully you'll have heard in this video just how different every single guitar is from one another. It makes for a very interesting playing experience, and I'm sure that if you guys get the chance to come to the store when we're open once again, try these out for yourself, and you'll notice just how different every single guitar is from one another. So hopefully that is kind of summarized what the HSS Shootout was going to be about. As I said, the rest of the rig, I kind of detailed it a few times in this video, so if you've missed out what I said, check out in the live chat. Luke's been answering the questions and stuff like that. Hopefully I haven't missed any more of your questions, and they've been answered while I was playing away, whittling away. Great fun though. I really enjoyed this video. I hope you did as well. If you want to find out any more information about any of these guitars, they're all linked in the live chat. Make sure that you're subscribed to our email newsletter, because that will be coming out, I believe, tomorrow. I'm not entirely sure, but it'll be coming out very soon, and it will detail all of these guitars that I've played today. It'll be telling you about the new Soldano. It'll probably be telling you about what's on the floor as well. So make sure you subscribe to the newsletter. Make sure you're subscribed to the YouTube channel as well, so you don't miss out on any content from us in the future. And until next week, when I'll see you again for another live, I hope you take care of yourselves. Have a great weekend. Enjoy the bank holiday. And I'm going to play you out. I don't normally do that, but I'm going to play out because I love the sound of this rig so much, and Luke can then seamlessly cut me off the internet. So thanks for watching, guys. I hope you've enjoyed it. Take care of yourselves, and I'll see you next week. Goodbye.